We, first of all, shame all the Chavei Kollel. We wanted to, that was before, show our appreciation and course of time for the Blue family, everything they're doing for the Kollel. Misachar does it in a very nice way, and quiet and quick. I was very busy day and night for all the needs of the Kollel. So I appreciate and say appreciation and give him a shakoyach, a lot of bracha and tzlacha. Parnasa, soon we should be good with the mishpacha. The Gemara in Shabbos, Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, and we all know Machlekes B'Sham and B'Sila. But B'Sila say you start off the way we light the candles. We start off with the day number 1. You do 1, 2, 3 till we get the 8th day. We have 8 neiros. The Beis Shammai say the opposite. You go down. You start with 8 neiros in the beginning. First night is 8 neiros, then you go down 7, 6. The last night of Chanukka, you left with 1. So we understand, we know the halacha. It's like Beis Hillel. We do like Beis Hillel. We start with 1 and we go up to 8. But if you really think about it, the Beis Shammai has a good point, because we all know when you start the Yom Tov, you start Chanukah, you're all excited, and then as you go along, you go a little bit down with that excitement goes down. So you should have started with 8 candles to show the mace for 8 days, and as you go down, you get 6, 7, 6, 5. You go down until you get the last day of Chanukah. Already done with everything. You light 1 there. We do the opposite like Beis Hillel. What's the pshat in this that we're Mesiba v'haylech? The excitement usually goes down. The Rav Dessler says a very interesting thing, which could take us. We could, if we focus on these points, we're able to walk out from Chanukah with something in our hands. So we all know all the ideas of the vikuchim, the arguments between the Yevonim, the Chashmonaim. He says like this, a very interesting. This is in Michtav Eliyahu on Chanukah. He says a very deep concept that there is the Yira. There's Yira Chitzonis and Yira Pnimis. And he says the Maisa mitzvahs that we do is a Maisa Chitzoni. You put on tefillin in the morning, you light the candles, you do different things, which is a Maisa Chitzoni, you do an action. And there's something called Yira Pnimis, which you bring your heart and you do it with all your heart, with the leiv. That's the Yira Pnimis. This is by the real tzaddikim, the mitzvahs and avodas Hashem, it becomes part of them. It becomes mamish part of them. And what they're doing is mitoich the pnimius. He says a mashal. The mashal madav he says you have a person la'aleinu, his kid went off the derech. This person is a Rosh Hashiva. He has talmidim, and he has one of his talmidim Metsuyan talmid, which learns from him, and he shows about Sama, the Vara, the Rosh Hashiva. He gives him everything, and this student is Kli Mala. He accepts everything, and he's mamish pareach in Torah, and he mamish loves him. But his kid, his own kid, he doesn't see him. The kid's not around. He's not around. He's so the ahava to the kids. He doesn't show. We don't see any ahava between his father and his child. More, he seems like he loves the Talmud. It says of Dessler, what's going to be if, let's say, one night the Talmud and his son are this father, this Rosh Hashiva, he has a Talmud and he has his own son in the house. In the middle of the night, for example, let's say there's a fire. He wakes up in the middle of the night. The father wakes up. He opens his eyes, sees the fire. Who is he going to go to save first? He says, "Oh, that's my father." He goes first to his son. He loves the Talmud more. Looks like he's got a Talmud. He says, "No, the pnimius, the inner love, is to his real son." That's the pnimius. It's just a mashal, just to bring out a point that we all have in us something called conscious and something called subconscious. That the subconscious is the way you programmed your brain to go on, so to speak, an autopilot. And the conscious is the decisions that we make. Sometimes every day you drive to yeshiva. So sometimes you need to go to the doctor. Then you're on your phone and you're supposed to go to the doctor, but you drive yourself to yeshiva because the subconscious is taking you one place, but the conscious is just you didn't make it to go to a different place. It happens many times. This is by the tzaddikim, the avodas Hashem is on autopilot. It's part of them. It's in them. And that is avodas Hashem in Pnimius. So the Yevonim, they knew everything in Chitzonius. They knew also, as they say on Aristotle, he wrote a sefer of Tikkun Amidus. He wrote a sefer of Tikkun Amidus, but he was himself was about Mushkas. He was about Taibeh. At the end, they say he died from a machlok that he wanted to marry a isha, which she did not want to marry him. He died from that type. So, but he wrote a sefer with the Tikkun Amidus. And the machshava they knew, but it wasn't part of it. It wasn't part of it. By us, the mitzvahs, it's part of us. It becomes our avodah of the pnimis. We know today all our mitzvahs today are much more mehudar than the generations before. Our tefillin are much better. They didn't have the equipment to make such a good tefillin. The aluminium OS is better. Our Esrogim, the worst Esrog Sugima doesn't. They wish they would have it in a shtetl and in Europe that the whole city was benching on one Esrog Sugima. But our Esrogim are much better. Our mitzvahs are much more mehudar, are much better. But one thing is missing in our generation. That needs chizuk is the leiv. The leiv in the mitzvahs. When they did the mitzvahs, they gave all the heart. By us, we have so much Torah, we have so many mitzvahs, we have to put in more pnimius onto the mitzvahs. So the way to get to this avodah is by putting pnimius. And when a person is putting his avodah salev, then the more he gets into the mitzvah, the more it becomes part of it. So we ask the question, why is it Mesiba, the excitement on Chanukka, at the beginning is big and then it should go down, and the answer is it shouldn't be like that. Really, it's the opposite. The more you go into it, the more it becomes part of it, the more exciting you go. And that's the avodah by the tzaddikim. We have a me'en by Yom Kippur. Start of Yom Kippur, also excitement, and you go up and you have the Musaf, the Mincha, and the Ne'ilah. By Ne'ilah, you're all the way high up. And every day is some me'en also. I think the Shmoneser of the Shachris is not the same thing the Shmoneser of Mincha, because Shmoneser of Shachris is, and after a build-up of the whole davening of Sukkot, the Zimra, the Bichasa, Shema, it's a whole build-up. The more a person gets into something, then he could go higher and higher. And if we're going to think before we do mitzvahs, why didn't a person could take one thing, put on tefillin in the morning? It's not going to help if you say a bunch of l'shem yichus. If 1 second a person has to put his mind in tefillin, I'm doing this mitzvah lasas nachasuach l'Hashem to do the mitzvah, to make Hashem happy in the mitzvah that I'm doing, or any other mitzvah. I'm lighting nervous for the mitzvah of Hashem. You think 1 second before the mitzvah could change a person. The avodah pnimis would go much higher. I heard a nice cute ha'ara, and we'll finish with this very nice ha'ara. On Simchas Torah, we jump when we say Moshe Emes with Torah Emes. Why do we jump when we say Moshe Emes with Torah Emes? I heard a nice pshat. It says Koirach, right? We say the Gemara Bavas, the Taya, the Ishmaeli took him in the midbar and he showed him the Luya Koirach, where they are under the ground. He said, put your ear on the ground and you're going to hear them. Put his ear and he says, what do you hear? Moshe Emes or Torah Emes. What happened with Koirach? Koirach is kind on his Yosef, it's Salfan Ben Uziah, he had Kina, that's how he got to his Shafal HaMadrega, he went down. Kina is something which is artsiest. It's artsiest. It's you're busy with this world, the Elam Hazeh. That's how Kina, jealous of jealousy, that's how it starts. So, also, we have, he refers to Am Ha'aretz. Am Ha'aretz is the person that doesn't know anything. He barely knows how to read, barely knows how to learn. He's not shaykh to the belt of Ruchnius, so he's Am Ha'aretz. Why do we call Am Ha'aretz? Because he's attached to Artzius, he's attached to the Aretz. That's why he's called Am Ha'aretz. And there's something even more than that, it's called Bur. Bur in Birkei Avos. So Bur Yerachet. What's Bur? Bur is even more than that. I heard a nice cute idea. The Bur's studies wasn't enough for him to be on the ground. He had to dig himself deep inside to make a bore, to make a hole, because he's so attached to that Tama. So what do we say to Korbach? We jump. We go high up. We're not shaykh to this artsy. We're not connected to the earth, to the Amaretz, to the bar. We're high up. We jump high up like a nair, like a candle goes high up. A fire always tries to go high up. A yid always has to have in him that he has this she'ifas to go up. But it has to be the way to do it is putting it down the mindset with machshava. And before a person does any mitzvah, sitting down to learn, 1 second a person could think about what am I about to do now? I'm doing a mitzvah, I'm doing a mitzvah of a Torah to do nachas Hashem. And with that, a person is going to be able to be moisif, to hailech, to do more and more into Avodas Hashem. Shall be zeichet to all the iris that we had in the Chanukka, mashpia on us and on our whole entire families.
Amen.